Hello everyone, my name is Praise Scooter, and welcome to my personal top 10 list of games from 2013. These games are games that I played throughout the year of 2013 that I thought were gems amongst everything else that was released this year, as well as a few other games that came close to the top if not for certain catches, such as they didn't actually come out in 2013. Something to keep in mind is that I was not able to play every game the year of 2013 had to offer. Sonic Lost World, Saints Row 4, and Bioshock Infinite are amongst the list of these games. Also, these are not the end-all be-all best games, nothing can be questioned list. This is just my opinion. You are more than welcome to have your own opinion on what the best of the best is. Hell, I encourage it. No, I demand it. Let's just go to the honorable mentions. First thing we're going to move along to is the honorable mentions. Now, I touched on it just a minute ago, but I do want to say that these games were games that came really close to making my top 10 list, or if I had made like a top 15 list, they would be in it. But I bumped them down because they weren't quite top 10 of my favorite games, though fun, or they kind of got caught by the loophole that I enjoyed playing them, but I didn't play them until a year or two after they were released. So with that being said, on to the rest of these honorable mentions. First off, I want to talk about Metal Slug Anthology. Though it came out a long time ago, I didn't know of this game existing until this year. This is why I'm putting it on the honorable mentions list instead of in the actual top 10. An arcade shooter series that is silly and difficult at the same time. It is a fantastic series that not a lot of people would have had a chance to play until this anthology version came out. I'm not able to explain too much about what makes this game amazing without you folks playing the series yourself. Watching the footage in the background should give you a feel of what the game is like, and also, as you can see, it's kind of a run and gun, dodge, and pray to stay alive kind of game. Reminiscent of Contra or something like that. Next on the list of honorable mentions is Fortune Street. This game passed by my face several times between 2012 and the latter half of this year. Not until I started to play it myself and see some videos of it pop up all over YouTube that I learned that this game was very charming and, oddly enough, educational, as it teaches you about the economy and investments. This game doesn't feature Mario on the cover just for sales, as it does suffer a bit from Mario Party luck. What I mean is that one of the event cards or adventure cards in the game can either make you the winner within the first few minutes of the game, or it can take an endgame victory away in the blink of an eye. Once again, the reason this particular game isn't in the actual top 10 is because I did not get this game until August of this year, when it was released back in early 2012. Next up on the honorable mentions list is Dungeon Land. Dungeon Land is an interesting kind of game where you and up to 2 friends can go through a grueling dungeon that you need to use teamwork to complete. Each class has a role to play they need to fulfill. The warrior is there to soak up some damage and prevent others from taking a hit period. The rogue is to provide most of the damage. And the mage is, oddly enough, the most complex. The mage not only keeps his friends invulnerable to damage, but can stun foes and even dish out some damage of his own. Only catch is you need to prioritize which of these is most important for you and your friends, or you will all die. And rather fast. There are a series of pre-made levels you and your friends can try to maze your way through, or if you happen to have a third friend and want to be a dick to them, then the real shining point of this game, for me, comes forth. The Dungeon Master mode allows one person to spawn and make enemies in a partially randomly generated dungeon. It's a pseudo RTS style of game from this perspective. In Dungeon Master mode, you get a pre-round setup where you, the Dungeon Master, get to pick and choose cards from up to 10 different spells to use on the enemy players. That team of 3 I mentioned before. As you deal damage to players, or properly trap them, you receive points that you use to fill up a super meter of sorts. When ready, you can use this super meter to summon a field of monsters or summon a mid-boss a la Diablo 2 or 3. You can take direct control of any monster in this game at any time if you have nothing better to do, or if you feel you can do a job much better on your own. Should the enemy team make it to the end, you take direct control over a boss monster and fight to the death in an arena with the enemy team. The final game I have on my honorable mentions list for 2013 is Cube World, which the game technically isn't out yet, but it is in public beta of sorts, as long as you purchase it, so I guess it's technically released. Voxel graphics were a big thing from 2012 to present day. Voxel graphics being the whole, it looks 8-bit and pixelated when really just a bunch of cubes. And it's actually a full-fledged 3D world. The folks of Picorama wanted to capitalize on this art style, but the other half of that game is where all the glory comes from and puts it where it is on this particular list. The amazing part about Cube World is that it feels like an MMO, but it has no quests other than the ones that you have in your head. It's open world, so you can explore to your heart's content. It has class and leveling systems to allow you to create your character how you please. Everything is also created in just the right way that everything can be done solo with a little bit of fancy footwork and spamming of healing items, or cooperative with anybody on the server. The combat, though it is a little dull, it lets you think on your toes and have a lot of positive impact on how much damage you receive in a fight. Cube World, in my opinion, is a mix of everything that's good with MMOs, such as massive environments, dungeons to crawl through, and servers full of people, and everything that's good about a single-player RPG game experience all in one big bundle. Now that this cavalcade of honorable mentions has been taken care of, let's move on to the actual top 10 games. Number 10. Number 10 on my top 10 list goes to Sanctum 2 for the PC. Now, those that have been watching my channel for a while will know that I'm an avid fan of Sanctum of the first Sanctum game for PC. A combination of two very unlikely genres that made you think things through for maximum efficiency and victory before you start a wave. During the actual wave, you can assist your towers with defeating the waves of lums that attack your core or end goal. Not those lums! These ones! Sanctum 2 follows a similar formula, except multiply the action portion of that tenfold. Looms will now attack you directly if you are in their path to victory, and you can only place about 10 to 20 active towers maximum per level. Add in the fact that you have to attack the looms head on during each wave, or you will lose. Period. Now, there's also a class-based system of sorts built into this game. You can either play as the all-rounder Sky Autumn, who is the character from the first Sanctum game. You can play as Sweet Autumn, Sky's younger sister, who is a master of demolitions and aerial maneuverability. You can play as Simo, a robotic companion with deadly accuracy and is a champion marksman. Or Hygen Hawkins, the frontline bruiser specializing in close quarters combat. The combat of this game is extremely tense and keeps you on the edge of your seat with the thoughts of, oh god, I don't want to lose! And even if it gets too easy, there are difficulty modifiers that you can add in to make the game much harder, such as regenerating health for the enemies. Plus, the game's difficulty will spike in the multiplayer. With each additional player, the looms get more health. The game looks easy at a quick glance, but its beauty lies further down than the simple point, gun, and shoot game.
Awesome.
Number 9. Number 9 on my list goes to Guacamelee. How Guacamelee starts out is you're just a casual hombre working to help the folks of your small village. Your childhood friend visits you, who also happens to be the mayor's daughter, when all hell breaks loose. A metaphorical Grim Reaper comes, takes the girl, and, in one fell swoop, vanquishes you. Kinda grim, ain't it? But the story does not end there. A Spirit of the Dead grants you a chance to come back, save the girl as well as the town that you're known for being a hero in. You come back to the world as the most heroic figure known to your town and country, a luchador. And this is where the game sets you free in a Metroidvania style of world. The art style is fantastic, making it look like something out of ancient Incan or Mayan arts. Plus they have little nods to video game classics hiding in all the posters all over the towns. Loco Lobo Tequila. The one and only El Linko? Los Casa Crashers. The power-ups are set up in such a way where they can be used to combat foes, or you can use them to explore the world around you. The theme is something that you wouldn't expect in a Metroidvania style game, but it plays off the genre so well that the odd theming of it is nothing but a fresh breath into this genre. Number 8. Number 8 on my top 10 list goes to Dust, an Elysian Tale. A swordsman left without his memory. Dust sets out to recover what his memories were, or what he did before he lost his memory. Accompanied by his sentient sword Ara and a small sidekick Fidget.
I think that strange feeling you've got is a little foreign concept called compassion. I'm proud of you, Dust. Of course, if you said no, I need to bite your face off.
You are so damn adorable! The game itself is set up sort of as a Metroidvania kind of game. Well, we're seeing a trend here in 2013 for me now, aren't we? The combat portion of the game, though, feels amazing. Yes, it is a bit of a button mash, but you can combo everything together very easily, and the game rewards you for doing such. Fidget's abilities make this feel much more rewarding, though you can just do a loop of press B, hold Y, mash X, repeat. But the game rewards you for getting a system down and being consistent by way of a hits counter. For every consecutive hit you make on an enemy without getting hit yourself, if you finish the fight with all of those hits, you are actually rewarded additional experience in the game. And that's actually something else I want to touch on. The experience in the game actually makes it so you feel like you're progressing forward and making a stronger character, rather than just kind of a dull move left, move right, jump up, find secret X thing. But your input and how well you actually play the game throughout it impacts how well of a character you make in the end game. Plus it allows you to customize your character in a way where you can focus on pure offense and just hope you dodge everything, or you can go for more of a tank approach and really do hope that you aren't on a timer for killing something. There is also stats to increase the power of Fidget's magical spells. But the game also balances that out by making sure that your highest level stat is no more than 4 points above your lowest level stat. Just to make sure that you don't max points out on one thing and forget about everything else, and that way you aren't also screwed if a challenge requires you to, say, do damage with Fidget spells when you've maxed out on physical sword melee combat. Though a big selling point of this game is the art, which is breathtaking. I found myself multiple times just stopping for minutes at a time, just looking at the scenery behind Dust, seeing what all was back there. A lot of AAA companies wish they had this level of art and voice talent, is the point I'm trying to convey to you here.
We must be getting close.
How can you tell?
Look.
We may still be able to save the others. Let's hurry.
Number 7. Number 7 on my top 10 list goes to Pokemon X and Pokemon Y, which are pretty much the same games. Before I start talking about why this is number 7 on my list, I want to give credit to my friend Saint Mistrier, or Stu, who helped provide this footage of the game in the background, because I don't have an actual 3DS capture card. which is also me wanting to apologize to you that you're just seeing a online battle right now and not actual snippets of the game. Sorry. For Pokemon X, I don't think I really need to talk much about what Pokemon is. I'm also going to do my best to not ruin the plot of this game, as I know a lot of people either got this game for Christmas or haven't had time to play through the whole game as of yet. Pokemon X and Pokemon Y is just amazing, plain and simple. It fixes some balancing issues that the previous generations had, plus throws some monkey wrenches into the formula to make things a bit more hectic. The fairy typing of this game was a much needed typing, scaring away the master race dragons, making them weak to more than one type of attack. But also with fairy's weakness, it now makes steel and poison types more useful, seeing as now they're effective against more than one or two things. I also really love the Wonder Trade system in this. Now you can trade away a Pokemon that's been hard to get, or you can trade something that you worked hard on for a Pokemon somebody else has also worked hard on. That, or you'll get your 35th Caterpie. Outside of the flaws of Wonder Trade and people abusing it, there are some reasons why this game falls short of being a number 1, 2, 3, or 4. The story was very weakly delivered. Now, I know it's a Pokemon game, this is not exactly a selling point for this game, but I like some meat to my RPGs when I play them. I loved Black and White 2 because it had an amazing story that was strewn all throughout it. The other reason it's not perfect is how it handled getting certain Pokemon or even hidden abilities. Now, there are about 400 or some odd Pokemon maybe that you can catch in the field legitly, but also keep in mind that the Pokédex for this game is over 700, which means the only way to get certain Pokemon or hidden abilities is by using the newly introduced Friend Safari system, where you had to hope your friends have the Pokemon in their Safari. It's more or less a gamble to try and get them. And some Pokemon in the games are only attainable this way as well. Again, Wonder Trading solves most of this issue because you can, if you're a good guy, like I generally have been, you can breed up a ton of these hard to catch Pokemon or hard to obtain Pokemon and trade them out on Wonder Trade so everybody gets them. So I feel Wonder Trade saves the game and makes it so it's not a complete wash for a Pokemon game. Number 6. Number 6 on my top 10 list actually goes to Rayman Legends. Now, this is a little unexpected, isn't it? Last year I put Rayman Origins at the top of my list, and this year, quite a bit lower down. Hopefully I'll be able to explain why in just a bit here, so don't start throwing your tomatoes yet. Overall, the game itself is fantastic. One could even say it's the best. The platforming is simple to follow and very easily controlled, to the point where you feel like your input is what contributed to your failure or success of your character, not any shenanigans the game pulls. The musical levels are perfect, where you jump and attack in time to a classic music song from various musical artists. The multitude of options available to you with co-op and how many people you want to play with and how you want to play. Hell, they stuck the original Rayman Origins game into Rayman Legends with some fixes and changes, so people who didn't play Origins can give it a go now within Rayman Legends. There is one portion of this game though that drives me mad and makes the game not very fun for me. Sadly, this also contributes to the lack of friends I have locally, which makes this an issue. The Murphy levels. That glowing fairy frog makes some levels infuriating, either due to the fact that some of the platforms are not labeled well enough to indicate what they do. This is more apparent when you're in the game's auto-scrolling segments of these types of levels. To the AI being so specifically programmed that if you don't have near pixel perfect accuracy, the AI will skip the collectible you've tried about 15 times for. If you can get some real people to play with though, that becomes moot point. As I said before, this is a fantastic game that most platformers should look up to as a benchmark on good control. Number 5. Number 5 on my top 10 list of 2013 goes to Dive Kick. Most of you that follow me around for a while now know that I'm terrible at fighting games. I focus way too much on playing legit when I would probably do better if I mashed buttons. I'm serious. I've done the research. The big problem I think is that there's too many button combinations, and you are also expected to pull off these combinations seamlessly within your various other button mashings. This is where Dive Kick comes in. Dive Kick gives off that vibe of a big time fighting game with a simple 2-button play strategy. It actually boils down from a pop quiz on what characters can do what to more of a mind game, if anything. Especially seeing as it is one hit, one kill. The thrill of the fighting game is still there though, not as much as in massive combos, but more so in near hits or barely missing someone. For just a 2-button fighting game, the character roster is very fleshed out and very unique. Characters that can change their dives or kicks mid-flight, characters that have a delayed hit, characters with a crazy amount of jump height, and even one character that will randomly switch between other characters' playstyles. This is for the more advanced players. I would play this particular fighting game any day of the week. It's so simple, it's so fun, and it has all the tension of an Evo Street Fighter 4 match. Number 4. Number 4 of 2013 goes to Super Mario 3D World. Ah, Mario. Your humble beginnings as a simple left-to-right platformer has taken you so many places, so many worlds, and saved so many princesses. A grand total of 3. The newest addition to Mario's staggering list of games is Super Mario 3D World. The game is so high up here as it has so much going for it, yet it's sticking close to its roots, so as not to scare off all the nostalgia kiddies. Seriously, think of something from a previous Mario game that you liked, and it's there. Some Super Mario Galaxy themed levels? Yup. Random colored blocks from Mario 3? Uh-huh. Chestnut Goombas? And Mini Goombas. There's even a splash of love from New Super Mario Bros. 2, the one where you get all the coins. Though the throwback to all of the old Mario games in some way is a big plus, the game pushes new mechanics at us to have us see Mario in a new light or play in a new style. The cat suit being one of these major pushes. But just the way old blends with new and is balanced in such a way where one power-up doesn't seem to make the rest of the power-ups suck. The big thing that I love about this game is the variety of characters to play as. Before it was just Mario, Luigi who plays like Mario, Toad, and other Toad. Now it's Mario the well-balanced, Luigi the Jump King, Toad the Marathon Runner, and Peach? Peach? Remember the last time you could play as Peach? All the way back in Super Mario Bros. 2, which isn't even really a Mario game. So you could say this is actually her first non-Mario Party, non-sports game title where you can play as her. There are tons of collectibles, tons of co-op play, tons of nods to old games, tons of innovation, tons of fun. An instant own for any Wii U owner, and an instant play for those who don't own a Wii U. Number 3. Number 3 on my list goes to Foul Play on the PC. Now I've actually been talking a lot about people who have been watching my channel for a while, But I'm bringing that point back up again. You folks will know that have been watching for a while know that I love brawlers, which are also sometimes intermingled with spectacle fighters. The one thing I love most about them is the presentation of them, and that's somewhat wacky in the way it's presented. You are one guy against thousands. You win. This is where foul play steps in. This game knows that brawlers are wacky or silly, and just amplifies that by making the whole thing look like a play. You know, a play, a show, an act, a ruse, a Broadway production. And that is made apparent via main mechanics of the game and little notes of things such as characters merely changing costumes between worlds. Seeing as I brought it up, the main mechanics, that's probably something I should start focusing on. Seeing as I need to explain why this is at the number 3 spot and not out on its own in the back alley. As I said before, this game is presented as a play. Your audience affects your life and overall score. You have no life bar of your own, but rather a performance meter. The longer you go without getting hit and the larger you make your combos, the more excited the audience gets, which will build your performance meter. The higher it gets, the closer you can get to activating your star power! I mean the easier it is to accumulate score. This game also reflects a lot of old school brawler games with just 2 players maximum that can play. Instead of a lot of the industry trying to stuff 4-player play down our throats, the dry British humor the game plays around with also helps liven things up. It's like a cultural experience while having to go travel across the pond or tuning into an episode of Doctor Who. Foul Play is a very simple brawler that has been added into this genre of complex 3D scripted, cooperative, and very cluttered games that stands head and shoulders above the rest of its genre. Number 2. Number 2 on my list goes to DuckTales Remastered. Now, I'm very rooted in nostalgia. I'm not gonna lie, nostalgia is a very big factor in gaming for me. Though not my favorite game from my childhood, the original DuckTales game was still a gem in the community. Even until 2012, DuckTales was regarded as one of the best platforming games on the market. Then it happened, and all too familiar tunes started playing on the PAX screens. Fans raised their hands and voices in joy, but then doubt set in amongst fans. Will it still play as good? Who are these Way Forward people? I've never heard of them before. Actually, Way Forward are awesome people. They made Mighty Switch Force and the Shantae series. What about the music? This game is just flawless. If not, it's more than flawless. Flawless-est? The platforming works perfectly, just as it did before on the NES title. Nothing in terms of control has been changed, but what I like is the somewhat subtle way the game has you explore the whole level. The draw of replaying the original DuckTales was to get the highest score possible, but some people also played it just to try and get through the game as fast as possible. How they more or less corrected that speedrunning part of it and kind of forced people to see the whole score attack side of DuckTales was by adding some collectibles that you are required to collect in order to reach the boss of each level, and those are scattered throughout the entirety of the level. Also, to breathe a bit more life into the game, there are cutscenes as well to explain some finer points of this game. Best thing about these cutscenes is Way Forward pulled together the original voice cast of the 1990s DuckTales cartoon to voice the cutscenes of this game. Now, everyone is or was worried, is the music still good? Is it? Is it? Yes. Is even more so than you expected. How about I just drop a few bites of the game's music? But if you don't like it and you are a purist to the original DuckTales NES soundtrack, there is an option to change the music back to the 8-bit style you remember. Really, in the end, DuckTales Remastered is a perfect reimagining of the classic game to make the young at heart enjoy everything about DuckTales, both the television show and the original game.
You mean the moon?
It looks that way, lads. Well, what are we waiting for? That treasure's not going to discover itself.
Before we move on to the number one game of 2013, in my personal opinion, let's go ahead and go back over the previous entries just to recap. Number 10, Sanctum 2. Number 9, Guacamelee. Number 8, Dust, an Elysian Tale. Number 7, Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. Number 6, Rayman Legends. Number 5, Dive Kick. Number 4, Super Mario 3D World. Number 3, Foul Play. Number 2, DuckTales Remastered. Number 1. I think I just made a mess in my pants. Excuse me. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is my favorite game of all time. It's the perfect flow of story, level up progression, and in the end the satisfaction of saving the world, and even a 100% option for the perfectionist or completionist in the crowds. Every Zelda game since then has felt like it's trying to redeliver A Link to the Past. You don't believe me? Ocarina of Time, you have to collect the 3 spiritual stones and then after you do that you collect the 6 medallions. Twilight Princess, you collect the 3 pieces of fused shadow, then collect the pieces of the Mirror of Twilight. Should I go on? When a true-blooded sequel to A Link to the Past was announced, well, let's just say I was hitting some soprano notes with my squeals of joy. Now, when I started playing the game, it felt slow. Slow progression, slow story, slow this, slow that. But that started to quickly shift once you got past the first dungeon of the game, when you get the game's main mechanic merging with the wall like a painting. Things started going fast, and they were non-linear. This is shocking because every Zelda I played to this point, even A Link to the Past, never opened up the game this much. In this game there is no order, just go and explore. Play how you like, when/where you like. The game's item structure also supports this idea. Now don't get me wrong, the structured item progression from A Link to the Past was good. It kept you from getting too far ahead of yourself and into danger. In A Link Between Worlds though, if you do it right, you can have all of the weapons, except maybe all the bottles and one of the rods, by the time you start the second dungeon. This is all done with the amazing item system that's been implemented. You can now rent each weapon from the game's weapon shop and use them until you die. So you can play the minimalist or the maximist. There even comes a point where you can flat out buy the items, so you never have to worry about losing them in the event that you die. The best part about that is that you can choose to never buy them and just keep them rented if you're doing a speed run of the game. Do those even exist yet? But the completionist side of you is rewarded tenfold. Once you buy the items, you can upgrade them by finding 10 of the new collectibles that have been introduced into the game, known as the Miyamis? Miyamotos? Mother Miyamai has lost 100 of her children. Ironically enough, there are 10 weapons in the game, and they can be found mostly by way of echolocation. But back to the upgrading. You can upgrade your favorite weapons, buy the ones you feel are needed, and rent or not even touch the weapons you feel will be a bother to carry around. The music has me sold as well. All of my favorite music from the 16-bit era, re-orchestrated or reimagined with some additional songs added in. I could sit and listen to the minigame music or the Dark World music, also known as Loru this time around, for hours. Also, new characters presented and contradicting characters in the Loru world are just fantastic. Everyone has a personality all to themselves and something to love. By the way, Zelda's counter character is by far the best Zelda character to come around. And the villain. He reminds me of someone. Can't seem to quite put my finger on it. A terrible joke aside, Yuga is the best villain in a Zelda game to date. He's mad, he's angry, he's insane, and he has a way to make things work out for him with a backup plan. He even comes one fated conversation away from achieving his goal. All in all, this is why I feel A Link Between Worlds is my #1 game of 2013. Hell, it may be the game of the year. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has been my top 10 games of 2013. I mentioned it a bit through the video, but I do understand a few of my choices may have been chosen because of my sweet rose-colored glasses. You're jealous. Bet you want a pair. I hope you enjoyed this top 10 list. If you have seen some of these games and have not played them, I recommend you do, or at least give them a try. You don't have to, but I highly recommend it. Thank you everyone who watched the video. Remember, if you actually do enjoy the video, remember to click that like button. It does help me. If you actually enjoyed what I put together and want to see more of my content, there's always the subscribe button. And also if you feel like going the extra mile, you can always share the content around. I would greatly appreciate that. But I hope you have a happy new year of gaming in the year of 2014.